The mansion at 1313 Mockingbird Lane loomed against the slate gray sky. Its weathered condition was just a shadow of its once great state, totally overgrown. The plants creeped all over the building. As the Henderson family's rented moving truck crunched up the gravel driveway, 12-year-old Emily just couldn't shake the feeling that the house was, somehow, watching them. Just look at those dormer windows. Sarah Henderson breathed, her face beaming with an almost feverish excitement. Aren't they something? This house has such character. Jack Henderson nodded, a proud smile spreading across his face as he killed the engine. And at half the market value. Sometimes, kids, you just get lucky. I put everything we have into this house and I feel like we just hit the jackpot. 8-year-old Tommy pressed his face against the window, his breath fogging up the glass. It looks scary, he whispered, a mix of fear and excitement in his voice. Emily squeezed her little brother's hand. Don't be silly, she said. There's nothing to be afraid of. Even as a chill ran down her spine, she only believed the words she said half-heartedly. As Jack threw open the truck's rear door, a gust of wind whipped through the overgrown yard, carrying with it the faintest whisper. Emily shook her head. It was just a breeze in the old oak trees. It had to be. The first few weeks in the Hendersons' new home passed in a whirlwind of unpacking, exploring, and settling in. But as October bled into November, Emily began to notice oddities. The way the shadows seemed to linger just a moment too long in empty doorways. There was also a persistent scratching in the walls that her father insisted was just mice. And sometimes, late at night, she could swear she heard whispers. Although just barely, speaking words she could almost, but not quite, understand. It was a Tuesday evening in mid-November. Emily was helping her mother prepare dinner, chopping on the counter while Sarah stirred a pot of soup on the stove. Mom? Emily started. Have you noticed anything strange about the house? I know Dad says there's not much going on with it, but I don't know. Sarah's hand faltered for just a moment, the wood spoon clinking against the side of the pot. Strange? Whatever do you mean, sweetie? Before Emily could elaborate, they heard a piercing scream split the air. Both of them whirled to see Tommy standing in the doorway, his face pale as chalk. The, the mirror, he stammered. I saw, he pointed towards the hallway as he backed away. They rushed to the little black mirror at the end of the upstairs hallway. Its dark frame was perfectly and unnaturally still. Not a single reflection marred its obsidian surface. Well, that's strange, Jack said, coming up behind them to see what all the fuss was about. Must be a trick of the light or something. I'll have to clean it properly this weekend. But as they turned away, Emily could have sworn she saw something move in the depths of that impossible blackness. It was hard to tell, but it looked like long black fingers swimming somewhere deep inside. They were beckoning. The weeks that followed brought a slow, insidious change to the Hendersons' household. Sarah spent hours obsessively cleaning. Jack worked later and later, just trying to keep up. His once cheerful demeanor gave way to a tense, distracted air. And Tommy, well, Tommy started talking to people who weren't there. Emily just tried to ignore it all, convince herself that everything was just fine. But then came to the night that she found her little brother standing at the edge of her bed, his eyes wide and unfocused in the dim glow of her night. Emmy, the house wants to talk to us. Heart pounding, Emily didn't say a word. She just followed Tommy. Then, as soon as they went through the doorway, the temperature dropped. Goosebumps prickled all along Emily's arms as a soft voice, it was almost grating, like fingernails, came from the walls. Hello, children. Emily clutched Tommy's hand. What was that? Her nails digging deep into his palm. Before Tommy could respond, though, a crash echoed from downstairs. They raced to the landing to see what had happened. They found their father, slumped at the kitchen table, surrounded by a sea of papers. Bills. Emily realized with a sinking feeling, final notices and foreclosure warnings surrounding her father, that they were in serious trouble. I've lost my job, Jack choked out as Sarah tried to comfort him. The company's downsizing. I, I don't know what we're, I don't know how we're gonna make the payments. Over the next months, Emily watched helplessly as her parents grew more and more haggard. The house seemed to revel in their misery, the whispers growing louder and louder, more and more insistent. Emily would often catch her parents in hushed, urgent conversations. One evening, when Emily was supposed to be studying, she went downstairs for a glass of water. As she neared the kitchen, she overheard a fragment of conversation that made her blood run cold. We can't keep ignoring it, Sarah. It's offering us a way out. But at what cost, Jack? I mean, how could we even consider this? What choice do we have? We're 3 months behind on our mortgage. The bank's threatening foreclosure. If we don't do something drastic, I don't. Their voices dropped too low for Emily to hear any more, but a seed of dread had already taken root in her heart. She retreated to her room immediately, her mind racing. What had her parents meant? Who was offering them a way out? One stormy night, Emily jolted awake to find her parents standing in her doorway, their faces hollow, eyes brimming with tears. Lightning flashed, casting twisted shadows all across the room. Mom? Dad? What's wrong? Sarah fell to her knees and pulled both children tight. We don't know what else to do, she sobbed. We tried everything. If we don't do something, we'll lose everything. Jack knelt beside them, his voice hoarse. The house, it's shown us a way out. Mm, a way to save our family. A chill ran down Emily. The walls seemed to pulse down the eagerness, palpable. What do you mean? Jack swallowed hard. The house, it's alive. Well, in a way. Feeds off of the life force of children, and it's offered us a deal. If we give you and Tommy to the house, well, we'll wake up tomorrow morning on the day we moved in, with all our financial troubles erased. A clean slate. But you and Tommy would stay here, frozen in time. You in the house, you'd never age, never suffer, never want for anything else. Emily backed away, pulling Tommy with her. That's insane! You can't seriously be considering this. What choice do we have? Jack cried, anguish twisting his features. We're about to lose everything, and at least this way we can start over and try and make things right. And you two will be safe here, protected forever, in this beautiful house. Protected? You mean trapped? How could you even think about doing this to us? We're your children. But even as she said it, she saw the resolve harden in her parents' eyes. The choice that was tearing them apart had already been made. A ghostly knife materialized in Jack's trembling hand, its blade gleaming with an otherworldly light. I'm sorry. The wallpaper peeled back, and then with a hand shaking so badly he could barely control it, he began to carve into the wall. Emily and Thomas Henderson. And as the final letter was etched, a wave of dark energy pulsed through the room as they were immortalized on the walls of the house forever. Emily felt something fundamental shift in the world, as if the rules of reality had been rewritten. The knife clattered to the floor, dissolving into wisps of shadow. It's done. No longer are they yours. The children are mine. And you, Jack, you and Sarah Anderson will awake to your new beginning. Chance to rewrite your story, minus two small details. Can we, can we say goodbye? Sarah asked. There are no goodbyes in my realm, only eternity. The shadows in the room began to move, coalescing around to Emily and Tommy. Emily felt a tugging sensation as if hooks had lodged themselves in her very soul. No! Sarah screamed, trying to hold on to her children, but her arms passed through them as if they were already ghosts. The last thing Emily saw as the darkness enveloped her was her parents' faces, etched so sorrowful, yet so profound it would haunt them for the rest of their lives. Lives that would now unfold without any memory of the very children they had just sacrificed. Then everything went black. The sun rose on a crisp autumn morning, casting golden light across a Victorian mansion at 1313 Mockingbird Lane. A for sale sign swayed gently in the front yard, the word sold plastered across it in bright red letters. A U-Haul truck crunched up the gravel driveway. Jack Henderson killed the engine, a proud smile spreading across his face as he gazed up at their new home. Well, honey, sometimes you just get lucky. I put everything we have into this house, and I feel like we just hit the jackpot.